What's up, everybody, and welcome to episode 1 of Whiskey Wednesday. This started out as an Instagram, IGTV kind of slapped together in quarantine because I was bored, and I figured, why not just make like a little YouTube channel? So here we are, and as part of the YouTube channel, I would like to do Whiskey Wednesdays. And first and foremost, episode 1, we have Weller Special Reserve. Like many people, whenever I got into whiskey, well, I've always been into whiskey to some degree. Ever since I was a legal drinking young man, I was into whiskey. And whiskey's been kind of a family beverage amongst my family members. And Weller was one of the first great whiskeys that I got to try. I was working at a little beer pub and a buddy of mine had a bottle of Weller 12 out in his truck. And he was like, hey, go out there and grab that whiskey. We'll drink some while we close tonight. And he said, the only thing that I ask, don't put any Coke in it until you try it by itself. Now this was when Weller 12 was, $28 and you could rip it off the shelf like it was nothing. Of course, it's become much more popular as bourbon has become more popular, and it's generally significantly more expensive than $28. In fact, you can't even find the Special Reserve anymore for $28 in a lot of places. Some places you can. Well, anyway, let's dive into this delicious little whiskey. We have it in our Old Rip Van Winkle Distillery Glencairn glass today. As some of you may have heard at some point, Weller is Baby Pappy. Thanks, Fred Minnick. We appreciate that. First time, just off of the nose, it's got this really light, really inviting nose on the front. You get a little bit of that classic vanilla that you get in bourbon. You get a little bit of butterscotch. And it's just this sweet, soft kind of nose. And it just makes you want to drink whiskey. This is honestly one of my favorite whiskeys to put just as a little old-fashioned if I'm not trying to get too aggressive with my old-fashioned drinking, just because it is light, just because it is kind of fluffy. But in terms of actual drinking it by itself in a Glencairn, we've let this sit for a little bit. Let's give it a taste. Man, it's just so soft, it's so round. I can see why people get super excited about the Weller line, and with this being the bottom of the barrel when it comes to Wellers. I mean, you have the CYPB, the 12, the Antique, the Full Proof now. I saw somebody post a Weller Jaundice because they've created so many Wellers over the last couple of days. Great meme, whoever came up with that. But you can really see why the whiskey community is so Weller-centric, because it is such an approachable whiskey, especially if you're just getting in to drinking bourbon neat. You've graduated from shooting Evan Williams in college. Man, Special Reserve, bar none. Especially, if you can find 12, get the 12, of course. But if Weller 12 is Baby Pappy, Special Reserve is Baby 12. Because it has the same notes, the softness, the roundness, and then you get into kind of the sweet toffee, sweet caramel kind of notes that you get on the front of the palate, and it doesn't have a very aggressive finish. So you get some whiskeys where you take a sip and it's man, I'm getting so many notes after I've swallowed the whiskey, after I could still be sitting here and getting notes. Not with the Special Reserve. It's very clean. It reminds me a lot, if you drink Scotch, Dalmore 12-year Highland Scotch is a very clean Scotch. It was one of the first single malts I really got into. And the Weller Special Reserve has a very similar quality in that from nose, palate, finish, you just get this very crisp experience. For what that's worth, right? I mean, we're basically just making up things to say about whiskey to try and put something that's abstract into a concrete world. Some of you may not like it. I think if you can get it for 25 bucks, it's a steal. That being said, if I had to rate it on a scale of 1 to 10, this is by far a 6. Comment, subscribe, questions, comments, snide remarks, put them all down below. And thanks for joining us for episode 1 of Whiskey Wednesday. Cheers, guys. The week's almost over.